One day I was driving on Lekki Ekpe, and I said, God, you know that if you take me now, I've done my time. And I caught that thought. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
You've done your time at 27?
I was 26 at the time. I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is terrible. Like I've never thought, I've always loved life. I've always loved the idea of, being a star and everything. I'm like, how have you got to the point where you're thinking about it? So I packed the car. I'm like, God, please, I don't know what this mood is, and I'm really tired of being in this space. Help me fix this.
Hello everyone, and welcome again to another episode of Who Do You Think You Are? It's the podcast that comes with a book. And I'm really, really excited today because I have a very special guest with me. I mean, all our guests are special, but today it's my little bro. His name is Taymesan Emmanuel. Some of you know him for the podcast Tea with Tay. He's I won't say failed realtor. He's a realtor. I'm starting with the worst so that I can come in. He is a host, TV host. He's an ex-corporate baddie, having worked in public relations for many years. He's been a fashion model. He's a comedian. He is a podcaster, having the #1 podcast in Nigeria. And so many more things. I'm sure you would tell us because I'm not sure if you be. But I'm just so happy to have him on my chair. He's usually the one interviewing. In fact, I had a viral interview with him earlier on in this year when I was invited, but we're flipping the script where I want to just demystify what it's truly like to be Taymesan Emmanuel. Hey, Tay.
Ah, that intro. Thank you. How are you, Liz?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great.
You were just in London with me.
We had a great time. I'm so
did.
proud of you for doing that.
Thank you.
And the book is so impactful. I can tell from just even reading it and the people that came through and the things that they had to say. So well done.
Lagos was even badder.
I heard.
You heard?
Yeah.
Lagos was bad.
Well done.
Thank you. And thank you also for kind of coming to the chair. I was saying off, camera and off the air to you that for me, it's not we're not gossiping here or washing our dirty linens or just for the sake of sharing the story. For me, this is actually a movement, Tay, where I want people to be more open, to be more vulnerable, because there is a need for it. Yeah. Many people are going through so much. At the Lagos launch of Who Do You Think You Are, the book, one of the influencers, and I felt it to my soul, said, I have to buy the book because I need it. I need it. And it's because we live in a culture where a lot is hidden. Yeah. We're not encouraged to be real.
We gloss over things.
We gloss over things. We're trying to keep up with the Jonases, not knowing that the Jonases
are also suffering
bloody issues and are broke. Are broke. The Jonases are broke. Yeah. But I just wanted to kind of take a dive into your journey so far. Some of the trials and hurdles that you've had to overcome, your journey to healing and where you are today.
Yeah.
So you come from a family of how many?
6.
Okay.
That's my mom. My mom has 6.
Your
children.
Mom has 6. Yeah. And then your dad?
My dad has, I think, 3. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And I know that everybody that follows you knows the background of you being raised actually by your granny, not your mom. And just what life was like in Warri. Because you told us about your journey through your skits, even before Tea with Tay. Yeah. So your parents were not together. And what was that like?
I mean, I didn't exactly feel any type of way when I was growing up because I thought that was the normal family setting. I mean, your granny's raising you, but my granny was well-to-do, so she could send us to the best schools, I was provided for. But it was when I started getting older, I just realized that, this lack of a familial setting has affected you as an adult. But I didn't experience anything until my 20s. Like in my teens, I thought it was fine. My granny could provide. I had the basics, so I was good. I went to good schools. But it wasn't up until my early 20s that I started realizing that a lot of things that were happening to me were based off of the fact that, I wasn't raised in the love of both parents.
And what were these things that were happening?
I think I suffered from a lot of abandonment issues. I also was very guarded and jaded. Like, I didn't want to be seen by people. I think I'd become so independent even in my teens because, my granny did so much that she did things that she could, but I think I needed to be groomed by both parents. So when I didn't have that, I turned into myself and I became very independent. So it meant too soon. And I started guarding myself because when I got into the real world, I realized that people are not as nice as your granny. Your granny was just, doing the most that she could. So I started looking for mechanisms to protect myself. So I'd done it for so long that I now became guarded. I had walls up that I couldn't even bring down even if I tried.
That's deep.
Yeah.
And would you say that some of the mechanisms was humor?
Yeah, humor. Humor was one of the things that I explored. I didn't know how funny I was until, I got into uni. I could make everybody laugh. But it was to turn everybody away from me. You
didn't want the attention.
The attention was always, I loved attention, but it wasn't with any depth. It was just always surface, like,
you don't want anyone to look inside you, see through you.
Yeah.
You don't want to have hard conversations.
Yes. No, I had conversations with my very close friends, but those are the people that made it into the inner circle, right? For me, humor was, I just always wanted people to like me and be happy around me. So I would try to crack everybody up. Even my enemies, I would crack them up, just so that, I was accepted, because
so it's validation.
It was validation. That's what I was looking for. Yeah.
It was validation, and it was also people pleasing.
Oh yes,
which I talk about a lot in the book.
I was a chronic people pleaser. In fact, with benefit of hindsight, I'm like, Taymesan, why did you have to do all of that? Like, but at the time, that's what I needed because I didn't have, when people say I'm loved at home, I didn't feel that way. I knew that my granny loved me, but like I didn't feel like there was a place that I could run to for soccer or like so I looked for it on the streets, and the streets know they smile, so I would try to people please so that I don't lose that validation, I don't lose that love. So I would bend over backwards for even people that I think that didn't deserve it at the time. So yeah.
And so, I know your background to some extent, and that, you got into fashion modeling. I don't really want to go into that space too much. Yeah. And I know that you were A&R,
I did. Oh my God, yes.
You were A&R.
Triple MG, yeah.
And you were looking after techno. Yes. You were looking after, I know you. And, you went to Unilag. And then, of course, you kind of started your career and also had a small stint working with me.
Yeah.
Then you suddenly became popular before the fame. Popularity before the fame.
Yes.
You weren't acting yet, but you were doing these great skits, and we were hearing Ajiri. By the time you had started working with me, you were already popular.
Yeah.
And you were making money. You were making money apart from your 9 to 5.
Yes.
You were getting some cash. What was it like dealing with the industry? And I say that because in the book I talk about the price of being Liz Yamoja. Yeah. Even though I didn't know you at the time, that my background was that I was a TV presenter, and I had this screen name Liz Yamoja, and that I moved to Nigeria to be a TV presenter, exactly what you're doing now, part of the things. And I wanted to chase fame. But there was a time where I had to say, this is not for me because I'm going to die.
Yes.
I'm going to die.
Yeah,
I'm not going to survive this. I think there were a few points that are relating to men and situations, very, very horrible situations. And I talk about it in the book. But one of the other things was the comments. I remember there was a blog, Ladun Liadi, and I read there that she will end up with 3 husbands like Mommy Dearest.
Who's Mommy Dearest?
My mom. Like Mommy Dearest. So obviously it's somebody that knows me now. It's somebody that knows me that's spreading the gist. And I said, you know what, Mba, I can't do this anymore. I can't. It's now like coming out to my family, my mom, and success and fame will do that. It will have 1,000,001 people talking. So can we talk through the journey? What some of the worst parts of success, because we don't talk about it enough,
Yeah.
is we're not in America where there's paparazzi and like paparazzi leave me, but there's also some dark sides.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that?
So I think that for me, I just really I feel like my trauma pushed me to work extra hard. Like I really wanted to be successful. I thought that if I was successful, it would make up for all the things that I wasn't. So I pushed and pushed. But getting into the industry, I got into the industry really young. You knew that, I was like 21, 22 when I was working for you. So it was new to me. I was just excited to be part of this creative space, right? But I didn't know that it came with its own issues, right? When I got in, I was happy-go-lucky. I wanted to be everybody's friend. I was a people pleaser, But when I got in, I just realized that, it's not as funny as it looks on the outside. It's not as pleasant as it looks on the outside, I started making some enemies, which was a big problem for me because I was a people pleaser. So I wanted everybody to be on my side.
What would be the reason for someone to turn against you?
So, I think that not everybody can like you, but I wanted everybody to like me. Some people could not stand me, but I didn't understand it at the time. So if you were not fucking with me, sorry to curse, I found it a problem. So I would want to bring you onto my side. And that meant that I had to struggle and do and shape shift, So that was a problem for me.
And I'm sure some people could not also deal with the growth. Maybe there's some people thinking, he now thinks he's all that. No, be we they.
Exactly. But it took me a while to get to that point of understanding that this was an issue, because I thought that everybody was happy for me, because I was happy for everybody. We're winning, everybody's winning, but I didn't realize that the growth actually made some people a little irritated. And so those people I was also trying to bring to my side, can't you see that I'm doing well? Let's hang out, let's be this. I made enemies that till today I can't tell you why me and those people don't talk. It took me maybe 2 or 3 years to just let them go, because it really hurt me. Because even I don't know, I gave you a backstory of somebody I saw outside that we used to be so close. And she and her sisters, I don't know what happened. They just made me the villain. So I would always go back and say, what is the problem? What did I do? And also I think I had a very childlike system going on in here. Attitude. So I was like, please now, why are you doing this for me now?
But be my friend now.
Be my friend. What did I do? And that's how I was.
So you were begging?
I was literally begging to
beg friend.
People. Yeah. Friend. No, but also I had a bit of that Shakiri pride. But there's also a part of me that
wanted to belong. I wanted to be friends.
And belonging is so
needed the validation.
Important, especially when you're at that age. Also, it was an industry that I was coming into, and these were people that were already ahead of me. So I thought that, belonging would help me in the industry.
Because it gives you a mark of approval.
Yes. But I realized that over time, I really don't need these people. I can be cordial with the people that I in my space that love me, but I don't really need to be friends with everybody, because also there are people who just are not good for you. Not because they're bad people, they're just not good for who you are becoming. There's some friends that had to go. Yeah, because I was getting to a space where they could not. There's a Salapari made an analogy of when the plane is going up, up into the sky, the forces, they're too much, so the plane has to literally struggle at the beginning, right? At some point, things have to fall off. People have to fall off as you're going up there. So for me, I wasn't ready for those people to fall off, because remember, I'm a people pleaser. I want to hold on to people. So when the people started falling off, I was going mad. I'm like, God, what's happening? Am I a bad person? So I started feeling like a bad person. And that I struggled with that bad person phase for 2-3 years, because I'm like, maybe there's something wrong with me. Why am I losing friends? Why are things happening to me? I wanted to please. So that was one problem.
Can I stop you there? Do you think that had you had a two-parent upbringing, it would have affected you less?
Yes. If I had a team, I'll call them parents, right? Or family that
you could run to.
I could say, this is a new space that I'm in. I've never been here before, but this is how I feel, mommy. I just wanted
words of encouragement.
Somebody to say, what? I see you're doing good.
Don't worry.
Don't worry. I wanted a soldier behind me, somebody older, somebody, I had it in older friends like you and
But
the
it's
people.
not the same.
But it's not the same. Like they're not my family. There's only someone they can do. Like I
Yeah.
may carry your problem and go. You understand? But I wanted,
And I have my own problems
so
too.
yeah, true. So I had to figure out everything by myself, and it was so painful.
And you were so young.
Yes, I didn't also realize how young because I'm turning 28 in October, and I'm still young. So imagine how young I was back
Are you
then.
sure you're 28?
Yes, so I've achieved a lot. That's why people think I'm 35. Also, like I wasn't ready for the exposure. I thought I was ready for the exposure. I was exposed to millions of people engaging my content, TV. So they were already judging me and poking into my life, what I was about. When it was smaller, when it was like the people that I knew and loved.
80,000.
It was created. I knew my people. When I became very exposed, I wasn't ready. That really messed me up because I would go to read the comments. I would go to read the, in fact, I would even hear people's opinion of me and I would try to want to change it. Which was
How?
because, I would try.
How would you try and change it?
So getting close to you to say, is this what you really think of me? This is
I'm
not
not
who
like
I
that
am. I'm
too.
not like that too. You imagine how exhausting that was.
Trying to change 1,000,001
Trying
people.
to change. And I'm just like, when I would see the comments, I'm like, I just really want to give you guys my talent. Like, I don't want people to insult me. Because me, I'm love and light. And when I see some comments on the blogs, I'm like, somebody actually said this or wrote this. Where is this coming from? So it was all of these things that
I remember when you used to hate it.
Oh,
like when
God,
it
Liz.
used to make you panic. Like,
Liz.
what are they saying? What are they saying?
I only got a hang of it this year. As of last year, I still used to go to the blog and read comments and it would break me. I remember the AMVC outfit that I wore. God, it came for me. And I just wanted to dress up. It was a look. I'd been to Paris, I'd been to all these places. I'm like, how can we replicate this foreign vibe here? So I gave them a corset. It was a look, but I wasn't ready for the other side,
Even people you knew commented.
Oh, God.
Nasty comments.
Nasty. People close to me. And it was at that point, I'm like, I'm done. Even up to my family members, I gave them space for a while because,
They
these were the
commented
people, these were the people that I wanted to hold me down. And when the world was beating me down, you guys joined in. So it felt so lonely. It felt so lonely that I had to run to Jesus. I'm like, God, I don't know why you gave me this career. At some point, I wanted to let go of the career. Like, I wanted peace of mind. Like, my biggest issue was that how can you get here? After you have struggled to get here and you don't have peace, you're not happy. I had money. That's when I was traveling up and down. I thought that traveling up and down would solve the internal issues. It didn't. In fact, it tripled because there was more anxiety now that, what, how
You
you
have
going
to
to
maintain.
sustain this lifestyle? These people are coming at you. It means that you're taking time, but something might go off very soon, because you don't have support.
So there's anxiety.
It's anxiety. There's so much anxiety. Like I remember one time I was in Paris. I thought that, just flying business class, getting into Paris, the lifestyle I was going through Champs-Élysées, I was feeling myself. Walking on that street, I was so sad. Please, I looked for different pockets of happiness. I couldn't find it. I looked for it in different things that I would not mention because, but I couldn't find it. Like, it was so painful to see that. When they say, my friend would say, it's one thing for you to be poor and have hope that, things will get better. But it's one thing to finally be successful and not find any glimpse of hope to be better. So the thing was shocking. I'm like, God, this...
You were happier when you had less.
Thank you. I was happier in Sulere. I was happier in your office. That small corner seat, I was happier there. I had healthier laughs. I had genuine laughs.
Genuine friendships.
Genuine friendships. So at some point, it felt like I was acting in scripts. I wasn't myself. So I was shape-shifting. Like, there were too many variables in this new life that I had gotten. And I did.
Shape-shifting.
Yes. When I say shape-shifting.
Like you were becoming somebody different with different people. So
And
that
this is the
means
most
you're
honest
trying
I've been on any, because I will not give anybody this exclusive. So yeah,
We appreciate it.
I would get home and I would look in the mirror and I'm like, who the fuck is this person?
Who are you?
I don't know. Who do you think you are? Like, who are you? I didn't know who I was again, and I'd gotten so far away from the core of who I was that to trace it back was a big problem.
So can I ask you this? Were you acting out? Were you trying to change yourself to fit in?
Yes, my sister.
So I want the juice.
Okay, so
how were you changing?
So I was changing in ways that, first of all, I was a creative. I was fashionable. I was this. Like, I was different things. I was a Molotov cocktail, as they will call it, right? I was many things, but I now became one thing.
Which is?
A Nigerian man that was okay for Nigerians to accept. And that wasn't me. I started dressing down. You know, I would wear native just to conform. I stopped doing my looks. When Liz,
you didn't want them to.
Because I didn't want them
Do you remember
to put a
Film
torch
Gala,
on me.
the look?
Yes, friend. Do you remember Future Awards? All of that went in the bin. So I started trying to be like the bros so that I can be accepted in that space, right? But every time that I would come home, I was so exhausted. I was out every night drinking, partying, so that I could run away from myself. So it meant that the times that I was out Monday to Sunday, in fact, I was even fucking up on client work. Sorry for cussing again. So I was out.
You're being yourself. This is Tay.
Yeah.
This is Tay.
I was fucking up on client work. Man, you know, my work was me. That's all I had. So I was messing up in that, and I felt like my life was just shattered.
Shambles. We call it.
Shambles, right? And I couldn't help myself because I was still holding on to who I needed to be. Being like
people pleasing.
Yes.
Pleasing
So,
Nigeria.
When I would look for escapes. Like I would always be out. I never could sit to if anytime that I had to sit to myself, it was scaring me. So I would run away.
It was difficult.
Yes, it was difficult. So I would go to the club. I would go somewhere, you know, I'll do brunch with the girlies. I'll do something like just to run away from.
But that's also exhausting.
It is, but then again, it was a quick fix at the time. But it got to a point where it was so exhausting that I needed to confront the problem. And it means that I had to uncover years and years and stacks of, you know, memories and trauma and things that had happened to me to make me become this person. So, and I wasn't ready for that. So the whole of 2022, 2023, that was what I was basically doing. You were even calling me every time you call me. The team saying, you're not posting, you need to do more.
I was.
Mentally, I was so messed up.
You say thank you, it's okay.
Yeah.
That's very simple.
I'm like,
I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I remember.
I'm like, keep your advice. I said, right now, I'm
Yeah.
fighting for my life. I was literally.
You said that you felt like you were gonna die.
Yeah, I thought I was gonna. You know, when people say, because I never thought I would go. When people say they go through depression, I'm like, I figure out what's depression when life is happening. Last life switch-ish. Liz, I wake up in the morning and I would not want to get out of bed. I'm only beginning to understand that what I was going through was a depression.
It's only afterwards,
Yes.
whilst you're through it, you're displaced. You can't even
I was
pinpoint.
so unhappy. And it was not happiness that was fleeting. It was not unhappiness that was fleeting. It was constant. It was like
every day
joy
was a struggle.
Yes, I'm like,
I've been there.
Yeah, like, God, what is going on? I would, I started going to church and I would cry in church so much that I would have to cover up with my shades, like my sunglasses. That's when I started wearing sunglasses a lot because the tears were just flowing. It felt like, and now I just realized that, God was purging out the things that, were in me that was hurting me. But at the time, I'm just like, this is too much for me. This is too much for me. And I didn't have an outlet because at the time, I was also messing with friends who were not exactly like deep. We're just always surface, because, I'd gotten into the celebrity space. So there's nobody I could talk to. And also, like, even though there were some people that I could speak to, these things were deeper than just a conversation. There were friends who were also going through their own problems that I would come to and say, you know what, this is what I'm going through, and they would offer some advice, but didn't really fix what was going on with me. So one day I said to God, let me tell you what one just that happened. One day I was driving on Lekki Ekpe, and I said, look, God, you know that if you take me now, I've done my time. And I caught that thought. I'm like, Jesus Christ,
you've done your time at 27.
I was 26 at the time. I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is terrible. Like I've never thought. I've always loved life. I've always loved the idea of being a star and everything. I'm like, how have you got to the point where you're thinking about it? So I parked the car and I'm like, God, please, I don't know what this mood is, and I'm really tired of being in this space. Help me fix this, because you're the only one that I've always known as a close.
God, fix my life.
Yes, as the closest thing to me. I've not had any family that I've really been so close to.
Right.
But God, you've always been a constant in my life. Maybe I veered away a little because I got into the euphoria of being a star.
Right.
But God, I really need you. After that, I met my pastor randomly at Utazi. I started going to church. But even when I was going to church, I was so broken that
It took a lot.
Like, I didn't even believe that God could fix me.
And so what do you think was the journey to healing? Because one thing I know about God is not just saying, you have to also do certain things.
Yeah.
You know, I find people, I want to be rich. Is it by I want to be
Yeah.
rich? What are you doing to, do you
Do
get
you
what I
know
mean?
what God did for me?
Yeah.
God gave me him, not the money or the healing. He gave me him first. God brought me into the understanding of the love of God. Thanks to my pastor. Shout out to Flourish Peters. I think that I wanted a quick fix. I wanted God to just do the miracle. Let me run back to the streets. But God kept me in
I
church
just
for...
want to be happy so
we can
move.
Yes, but God kept me in church for like 2 years straight, listening to the word of God, understanding the love of God, to the point where the things that used to bother me stopped bothering me. The people pleasing stopped because I feel like God fixed my identity for me. It was the identity crisis that made me act out. When I came into God, God tweaked the identity for me. Like,
God did more than name.
Yes, so as opposed to giving me things, God gave me him. God gave me his identity so that I could see myself as he was seeing me. And that was the beginning of the fixing. Because the more I saw God and the way he was seeing me, the more I didn't want to people please, the more I didn't want to be stuck in like my old ways.
You weren't going clubbing to fit. You could sit with your thoughts.
Sis, it was the clubbing that shocked me. Like, my friends would call me out and I'm like, I don't feel good. Not because I cancelled clubbing entirely. I only did, so I started doing the fun with my friends. I wasn't going to the club to belong. If there was a club thing, it had to be me and my girlies and my boys, that I was close with. So I wasn't doing, I didn't cancel, I cancelled club for a while because I had to sit to myself. But every time that I went to the club after, it was for the sake of a good time.
So you weren't feeling displaced, you would have a good time.
Yes. In London, like, I had a great time with you guys because these were my people, So I started looking for those kind of fun, like those pockets of fun, like with my actual people, not so that I can be in a space where I'll be validated, But even stopping the club was me sitting down with myself to just uncover and unearth some things that had been deep-seated, like that gone into who I was. And, when I had that time, I realized that there was so much that I needed to unlearn that I wasn't ready for. In fact, there's some conversations that I had with myself that I wasn't ready for. And just taking out time and doing God and learning about God. My pastor will always say, Taymesan, you don't have any issues. You don't need any special miracle. Just get into God. Just know who God is. Just understand who you are in Christ.
I want to talk about unlearning because there might be someone watching this, listening to this, and they're thinking, okay, I resonate with so much of what Tay is saying. How do I go about unlearning? I just don't know where to start.
I feel like it's just been very introspective, right? And recognizing the patterns that brought you to where you are. So for me, the patterns that brought me to where I was were not working for me anymore. So I had to go back and investigate what are these issues. And these are things that have propelled me for years. These are systems that I've held for years. This is how when they say this is how I am.
I'm just that way.
That's how I am. But I couldn't just be like that. So I had to unlearn the things that had brought me here. And it was so painful because it's easier to learn something than unlearn it. It's easier to let go of things, like stop certain things. So I got to a point where, I had to now realize that this pattern is not working for you. Unlearn. Abort. But that process is too painful. You understand? It's too painful. Let me give you a clear example. Like let's come to the people pleasing. A part of me was not ready to let go of that people pleasing. I felt like I needed to be validated by everybody who came into my life. Even people that didn't matter.
How does someone recognize if they're a people pleaser?
By, there's some times where you go, so it's okay to sacrifice for, people and, compromise. But sometimes where you know that this thing you're doing, I hate it. I shouldn't be doing it. Like,
I don't want to be here.
I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. I don't even want to, like, when you sit down surround of people, you're like, why am I even your friend? Like, you're a shitty person.
You're not a nice, kind person.
Like, so when I started unlearning, right, I started becoming introspective. Like, I was sitting with some people that I used to, I don't know why I keep saying, I need to remove that from my vocabulary.
You sit down with some people you used to hang out with.
And they'll do something, maybe the way they speak to the staff, or like, I'm like, what am I actually doing with this idiot? I'm like, this nasty
You're not
person.
nice.
You're not a nice person. I'm not trying to toot my horn. I'm a very nice person, you know. At least I'm decent to people. Like I'm
respectful.
I'm respectful. I'm like, so why am I with these idiots? So
then you have to ask yourself, am I looking for validation?
Yes. And the truth is I was. Because by the time I tried to pull away from those people, it was so hard for me because I'm like, hey, I'm not friends with this person anymore. They will hate me. How would they think of me?
Say? People won't see me with them again.
Sis, what will people say? What will people say has held me down for years? What will people say has stopped me?
Preach it.
You know, if I did not care about what people would say,
you'd be further.
I for don't buy private jets. I for don't get house for Miami. Because at the core of who I am.
But that's who we are as a people. What do people say? Do you know that one of my other guests was Stephanie Busari, and I was saying to her that how many times in your head have you said Kilaye Maso that you've heard? How many times have your parents said, what do you want people to say? What do you want people to say?
Liz, what will people say has held me in a chokehold for years. So when they say, you know, bondage, when they say break every chain, sometimes it's not always spiritual. That was a huge chain around my neck.
And what will people say?
Because I was like, because I always wanted to be, another thing with trauma is that you want to be perfect.
And you know, it's the funny thing is, I bet you were saying, I don't care to everyone, but you care the most.
My sister. Over care. I was a caregiver.
But you will be saying, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I don't
when
say
I go
whatever
home,
they want to say.
when I go home,
thinking?
I'm like, Jesus.
So they said that. What did they talk?
In fact, I used to go and look for what is that what she said about me? I'm like, Jesus Christ. I can go 3 days thinking about what was said about me.
By one person.
By one idiot who does not. When I say, so now that I'm healing, I'm like, I'm so angry that I gave you guys so much power to think that you can.
Because actually there's a saying that if you are, for freedom is to be like basically not care what anyone
detached,
says.
You know, belong to yourself.
Don't care, yeah.
You know,
you're dangerously close to being free when you can move with your own thoughts, with your own decisions, and you don't need approval.
Do you know that a lot of things that God had placed in my heart to do, you know, and God, I can hear it in my spirit that this is what God is telling you, but because of what people will say. But going back to the Bible, all the people that God used, people talked about, people said things about them. In fact, imagine Mary carrying a child that was not from her husband. People would have talked.
Of course.
Jesus even claimed that he was the Son of God. People talked.
They sent him out of...
Jesus was so talked about. When I think about it now, I know...
They sent him out of, you know, they sent him, they banished him.
Reading the Bible, and when God says we're going to suffer with, just like he did, but we're going to come into like, you know, we're going to triumph, right? We don't think about that suffering in today's terms. You will suffer the things that Jesus suffered. He
but
was
injustice modern.
ostracized, injustices, like the things that he suffered.
You'll be abandoned.
You'll be abandoned. You feel
You'll
lonely.
be lied on.
Because Jesus felt lonely. When Jesus was carrying the cross, when Jesus thought about how much he had to do to save the world, he felt so lonely because the disciples couldn't even understand the level of...
Jesus' suffering was deep. I mean, obviously he was crucified on the cross, but he was betrayed.
Also, the rejection from his own people. Jesus Christ did more miracles outside of his hometown than... But
isn't that what we talk about? Isn't that the modern of Kini is not
accepted in his hometown?
That's it.
But I wanted to be accepted everywhere. In fact, I wanted to be accepted by the people around me. But I realized that the more that I excelled outside, the more the people around me were coming closer. It hurt me, but I'm like, if this is what it is, then
focus on what I need to focus on.
But also I feel like going back to the Word of God gave me a lot of succor because I'm like, okay, I'm not alone. Jesus suffered this. A lot of people suffered this. Also, even starting Tea with a Pod and listening to people who had things to say about their lives and where they were at. I'm like, okay.
It's not just me.
It's just not just me. And that's the core of Tea with Tea. Having conversations with people so that they can feel connected, you know. Having inspiring conversations that can inspire other people. Because beyond the glitz, the glam, the gossip, people are going through real life
just human
issues.
beings. Yeah.
People are going through deep things. You know, as much as the trauma did a number on me, it also made me soft enough to connect with people on their level. So I can't even judge anybody because I've been through things. So when you're telling me this thing, the reason why people say, oh, TBT, they come and say a lot. No, like when you come on my couch, sis, I get it. Bro, I get it. So I'm not even judging you. So even the way I craft my questions is not to put you in a space where you're going to spill things that you not like. It's to say, sis, I see you. It's to be seen. Because I feel like once we begin to see ourselves beyond the clothes, the glam, life will be better for everybody.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Whew, this has been it's packed a punch.
You know, I can just with you to Jesus to come.
It's packed a punch, but I'm so grateful for your healing.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for where you are. You're so young. You're like, years younger than me. Now we be mama now.
My auntie, my big auntie.
And I've watched your journey, at least for the last few years. I'm very proud of you, Taymesan. I'm proud. You. I've always thought, and I still do think you are so intelligent, so wise beyond your years. And I know that greatness is still looming.
Yeah.
You have not seen the best
Amen.
yet. Where are you now? Where are you now in your journey? I know you left church early to be here with us today.
Yeah.
So where are you now in your journey? I mean, I don't even need to talk about your journey with God. I know that you are a Jesus baby, Jesus son. But career, the people pleasing, are there any twinges of it? Does it come back a little bit?
Yeah, so
are you completely cured all of a sudden? How does it work?
When you're healing, when you're healing a scar, right? You get to a place where the wound will close up, right? Then there's a scar there. And after a while, it starts healing to the point where you almost don't see the scar. I think I'm at the place where the wound has closed up. I'm healing. It's still there. I can still see the scar. But I think I'm getting to a point where very soon it will be. But I'm in a better place than I was last year. I can't even lie to you. I was in a terrible place in 2022.
Did you do any counseling?
I'm in therapy.
Oh.
Yeah, I got therapy, because, I'd spoken to somebody and she just looked at me and like, you need 10 sessions. And she gave me 10 sessions.
Oh.
But I think that if I didn't go through this phase, I don't think I would make it to the next phase of my life. So it hurt me, but I'm glad that I've passed through this phase. And I'm also picking up the necessary tools for the next level of my journey. Like,
what are those?
Just being wholeness is what I needed. Security, proper identity were the things that I needed for the next level. Because
knowing who you are,
knowing who I am. Because the problem is that you will build on somebody that is not you. And when you finally get to the place where you realize that this is not you, if you built on sand. So I'm at the place where I'm getting to the core of who I really am. And it's a lot of work. I didn't realize, it's a lot of work. So where I am now is, I'm uncovering all the things that, were covered. I'm getting into who Taymesan really is. Identity for me is such a big deal because I feel like everything stems from identity.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because
who are you?
If you know who you are, you act accordingly.
Absolutely.
So one of my biggest prayers last year and this year was
I love that. I need to trademark that.
Yes.
If you know who you are, you act accordingly.
So one of my biggest prayers to God every time I was in church was like, God, show me who I really am so I can act accordingly. Let me see myself the way you see me so that some things that I do, I don't need to do.
I'm not showing off and shaming you.
Yes. Like now, I'm in a better place where if I see some comments, I'm like, I know I am. That cannot get to me.
Yeah, that's whatever. That's what your thoughts are. My Father in heaven doesn't think that.
Oh, Jesus. That's the love of God I'm talking about, Liz. Because when you experience the love of God in its full...
What you're saying is spiritual. I don't even know whether you understand how deep.
No, don't worry, I'm very spiritual. I don't want to speak in tongues.
What we are saying also is that if you don't know who you are, you cannot get to your zenith.
Okay, let me give you...
You cannot get to where you're meant to because you won't even move with that gusto. Yes. Because guess what? A lot of life is audacity.
Yes.
It's me waking up and saying, I'm going to do... Who wrote... Somebody told me that I did a video and I said, hi guys, I'm an author now. And that they thought about how many people would hate that comment.
Yes.
But I'm an author.
Tell the book be this now.
I'm an author.
This is it.
And I now also woke up. Nobody told me you are going to do... No, I didn't strategize with anyone to say, you do London, Lagos, DMV. I just said it.
Yes.
And have I not done it?
So Liz, also when you start knowing who you are, not that you believe that you're an author, there's some things that you will not even be interested in. There's some things that you not like to happen to you.
Yeah.
There's some things that you be like,
no.
Who do you think you're talking to?
Yeah.
That's where that audacity comes from.
Yeah.
And it's from knowing who you are. I would say that knowing how God sees me. Now, I was telling you something about a gig that I was about to turn down. You know I'm turning down that gig? Not because before I was hustling things, but just knowing that my Father has all things provided for me. Like there's nothing that I would do that will move me from the plan of God for my life. It is that understanding that's making me say, you know what, I won't take this. There's something better in the future. Let me give you a perfect analogy to explain this, right? Imagine for Laura Shalakaja, the richest woman, adopts a child from the slums who used to bathe like in outside, you know, used to eat by the gutter, you know, and they move him into Ikoyi. And they give him a nice room. At the beginning, he might not want to touch things because he doesn't know that my mother now owns everything. So I own everything.
That's it. So old habits will be
there until he starts to learn who he has become. He's a child he's an Alakija now. But he might still think that he's the guy from the slum. So when it's time to eat, he'll be like, "Happy, give me small food."
Let me give you an example of what you said. I watched something where a bear was going round in circles, even though it was no longer in a cage. It was going round in the circle and it was free. But they call it, there's a word for it. I've forgotten the word. Because in the comment sections, they're saying, oh no, this is usual.
Do you know that's how God sees a lot of us?
It was going round in circle, but you can actually go out of the circle.
Mentally, he's trapped.
That's it.
And that's how God sees a lot of us. Like Liz, I've given you all things. The Bible says, I've given you all things that pertain to life and godliness. I've blessed you. Why are you acting like this? Step into it. But some of us are so traumatized and things that have happened to us that we can't see past where we're coming from.
At all.
Do you know when I started making money, I was so scared of spending it. Because I'm like, hey,
it can't finish.
Hey.
That's poverty mentality.
My sister.
Poverty mentality.
You know where I'm coming from? So remember my house will be 200,000. I can't pay a million for Lekki. So every time when rent is due, when rent is due, I'm like, Jesus, you know that I'm not worthy to be here. But God is saying, this was always,
I called you for this.
This was always your life. You're even coming into more. So now I've paid my rent money. I have it, but this time when I was paying my rent, it was from a place of rest. I'm like, Taymesan, you're this boy now. Step into it, and that's what understanding who you are. So when this question is so important, who do you think you are? Who do you really think you are? Because at the core of this question is identity. Like it would shape your entire life. Who you become, the things you take on, who you marry, who you are friends with.
I bet you your friend circle is...
Oh, it has changed a lot.
And smaller.
They hate me now because I'm not available. And it's not... So now, the thing is that you are proud. But it's not pride, it's just an awakening.
You're busy.
Liz is not even busy. Like, Liz, I was in London now. Do you know the best times for me was when I started that apartment overlooking the water. I'm just like, this is your life.
This is Canary Wharf.
This is my life. The simple things for me. Simple friendships, healthy friendships. I have friends now that all I do with them is crack a few jokes and talk about their life, simple things, and I feel so fulfilled. I don't want to hang out. Like yesterday, I was at the party where all the billionaires were. I'm saying if we shut down that room, they were, like if you calculate the net worth of the people there, if you probably billions of dollars. You really do podcasts.
So we need PR now.
Yeah, it was a 40th birthday. Like it was massive. At least I didn't feel the need to
connect.
I stood there not because I was proud. People came to me. I went to people who I knew and I loved, but I didn't feel the need to over exaggerate myself or to please anybody. I just was Taymesan there. I'm like, God, this is the healing I'm talking about. This is the healing that I've always wanted. I just wanted to be whole. Normally,
I have an example for you. Again, even in terms of, this goes with the people that we work with, people that we want around. And it's like, you have your matches and you have your people. It's just a fact. You have somebody that's generally your people.
Yeah.
And that's why everybody cannot get on with everyone. And when you know that, it doesn't matter if someone doesn't like you. They're not your tribe.
Yes.
But also, if you show up as something else,
you don't get the good friends. You don't get the real people.
Because guess what? If you are yellow and red is what attracts you, but you are going round the world acting purple, how will red even recognize you?
Liz, you're preaching.
You're acting purple.
Liz, you're preaching. This thing you just said, when I said becoming myself, right? I said attracting people who love me for the real me.
They just love you. And how
and
refreshing
I could not believe
was
it. I could not believe it. Like sometimes I would see some friends that I thought that would not like the real Taymesan, and they dig the real Taymesan. I'm just like, God, I'm so grateful that I have this person in
that
my
I can
life.
be myself.
I can be
And
myself.
it's less work.
I have a friend called
less
Aiz. Shout out to Aiz. He used to be my former manager. Every time I'm with Aiz, I feel like I come into his house and I dropped a load like this. I'm like, my friend, I don't arrive.
Where's the food? Where's the this? Where's the that? I go chop.
Yes, so he knows me.
Taymesan likes food.
He knows me for like, I love Aiz so much, and I'm saying it for the first. I don't say it to him, but I love Aiz so much because it's a safe space. I can be anything. I can be myself. I can talk about anything. I can talk about the things that I would not even speak to my mother or father about. So when I started becoming myself, when I started letting people see the real me, I started attracting people that I needed. I don't need too many people. We don't need too many people. Jesus Christ had 12 disciples. Even that 12 disciples, they were people who were his beloved, his inner circle.
Can I quickly ask you a question? But what about when you're in a society that doesn't allow you to be yourself? How do people deal with that? Because I know someone's watching right now that's thinking, I love everything you're saying. Thanks, cool story, bro. Yeah. But I live in Nigeria where there are even laws that doesn't allow me to be myself.
So in society, belonging is one of the primal things for human beings, right? But in every society, the people will just never belong to society. So belonging is not just
there's the outliers. There's
people who, let's even say, there's some people who don't want to get married, some women who don't want to get married. But you know what marriage is in Nigerian society? Some women will always feel out of the space. Like they will always feel like the sore thumb, like because
they're not conforming.
So belong, it means that you have to be married with kids, have a good family, have a good front. But some ladies just want to live till they die and take out their woman, just leave. That person is an anomaly in society. So imagine how she will feel when every time she looks at the people around her, she feels out of place because she doesn't fit into the stereotype of what it is to be.
What should she do?
Good woman. What should she do? Stick to her guns. Because there's more peace. I know that belonging might seem like the way to go. But guys, there's more peace in belonging to yourself. There's nothing like finding who you are and belonging to yourself. It cuts out all the stress and the
you know
anxiety.
what? As you're talking, that woman, after a while, people will stop talking and
they will adjust. Or sometimes
accept it that this one doesn't want children now.
Sometimes the acceptance is not even about the people. Because when you go back home and you're with yourself alone, do you like yourself? Can you be with yourself? Have you made the right decisions to live by yourself? And that was one of my biggest problems. I didn't like myself enough to choose myself. Yes. And also, there's no way in this world that you not find your own people.
Absolutely.
It might not be too many of them. It might not be popular. It might not be popular culture. But you will find your people. And when you find them, you would know. But the problem with us is that we want to belong to the larger society. We want to be accepted by everybody.
Then what's trending? What's cool?
Yeah, but you are happier you're happier when you are with those people who know you, who get you. And you don't need everybody.
And it could be a small core.
My sister is usually maybe 5, 6. And when you're with them, you're alive. You know it because when you are with them, you're alive. When you leave them, you're like, oh, I had a great time.
And you're actually refreshed.
London was it for me. I hung out with you. I hung out with Toke. I hung out with the people that I like. Liz, when I came back from London, I felt so good. I didn't even want to taint it. I didn't want to go out. Even now,
you wanted to use it to sustain.
Like, I will need this for the next 3 months. That's what I do now. I hang out with people that I love, and I take their energy and I use it for my life. And also, what I've also learned is that not belonging to the larger community cannot undo what God has planned for me. Once I made peace with that. So I'm like, God, you need to protect me, provide for me.
It doesn't mean that I'm losing out on opportunities.
Yes. I'm like, whatever's going to come to me will come to me. So I've also dealt with that anxiety.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So, we know Tea with Tay is coming back. You're doing so much. Spotify, you just came back from South Africa.
Yeah.
You literally came from London, then went to South Africa.
Girl, I'm on tour.
And before London, you had just come from South Africa.
Yes, with Netflix, yeah.
I'm
so blessed.
We see you.
Thank you so much.
So what's next?
It's just work. I feel like I've come to a season where I'm not...
More acting?
Yeah, I act. I also want to produce my own stuff, I feel like the identity crisis I was dealing with is sorted now. So I need to I'm excited to do things now. I want to get back to my podcast. I want to produce stuff. I want to create content that I like. Not because who's going to engage, who's not going to engage. I want to present Taymesan at his best. I've missed out on a lot of Taymesan. So I need to, I'm like, please, now that I found myself, let me hurry back.
What's that your name? Is it Okoro?
Okoro on
on Visa on Arrival. Yeah.
So that's character too. I'm so grateful for that character. It's also shown me how funny I am. So maybe I used to hear that, you're funny, but sis, if you go to the comments on that YouTube thing, I'm like, are you talking about this same Taymesan? It's crazy. And guess what? I'm just doing me. And thanks to Bovi, shout out to Bovi who allowed me do me. The writing is so perfect for me. I'm just like, oh wow.
It's a gift.
It's a gift to me because I'm like, this is you. I've shown you who you are. So being on Visa on Arrival just showed me that you're funny. You can tap into this, not just fashion. There's so many, what's even making me angry that I let people get to me? I'm not trying to tweet my own list. There's so many parts of me, so many creative expressions that I have that if I tapped into,
you're a fashion icon.
The fashion is there. The fun is
there. You're actually still a model. You can host.
My sister, if I wear clothes, everybody go to shout.
You are humorous.
Sis.
You can act.
I can sing. If I want to record today, I go record. I go enter studio. So
how are we gonna?
I think I'm gonna sing gospel.
Really?
Yeah. I feel like I need to pour my heart into like music.
An album.
Yeah, like how I've seen God. Story. Like the love of God. I think I would do that eventually.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And you're a great storyteller, obviously.
That's something I need to explore. I'm gonna go to school for that because I have a lot of great stories in my head, but I've never thought of how piece it into
end
as a product. The only way that I've used it as a product is Instagram. So I need to stretch it into other.
And you're only just turning 28.
Yeah.
So the best is yet to come for real.
By the grace of God, yeah.
Thank you so much for being so vulnerable, Tay.
Thank
I really
you.
Appreciate it.
I will only be vulnerable in this space.
I love it.
Nobody can get this exclusive. Shout out to you, Liz. I'm so proud of you. Well done on writing this book. I'm glad that you've healed to the point where you can put your thoughts into a book that can inspire other people. Because I'm not trying to be shady, but I'm like, my mother not write book. Like I don't do. But I read some pages on the plane. I'm like, oh fuck, she gets it. She gets it. And this book is so important for you guys. It might not be it's a start in your journey of healing or to healing, right? So you need to take this book, buy it so you can. I think that if you've gone through trauma like us, if you've had daddy issues and things have happened to you,
abandonment,
you see yourself in this book. It's the beginning of healing because there's so much that she unpacked in this book that I haven't thought that she overpacked it. But then it's so good that you're able to put these things into writing and people can connect because not everybody will be able to sit with you to say, what, this is how I feel, this will happen to you. But this book it's
a gift,
something that you can give to anybody. I'm like, what, take this. Yeah.
It's a gift.
Well done.
Thank you, Tay. Thank you, Tay. We're watching. We wish you the best. And like I said, and I maintain, the best is yet to come.
Amen.